Ever feel like you're constantly juggling a dozen invisible balls? Your mind buzzing with unread emails, urgent tasks, and yesterday's regrets? You're not alone. It's a common struggle for men in our prime, caught between ambition and overwhelm, often sacrificing inner peace for external demands. Remember that feeling of being truly present, fully engaged, and totally in control. For many of us, that sensation feels like a distant memory, replaced by a constant hum of distraction and the nagging feeling that we're always playing catch-up. What if real strength isn't about how much you can handle, but about how much you can let go? What if mastery isn't about having all the answers, but about asking the right questions of yourself? Welcome to StoicCraft, where we explore timeless wisdom for modern men in a world that often mistakes noise for substance and knee-jerk reactions for intelligence. Many of us find ourselves feeling burnt out, scattered, and disconnected from our true power. But the ancient Stoics understood a profound truth. Real strength isn't about doing more. It's about doing better. It's not about shouting louder. It's about knowing when to stay quiet. It's not about endless overthinking. It's about steering your thoughts with purpose. In this deep dive, you'll discover how Stoic philosophy can help you regain your laser focus, toughen your mental fortitude, and act with deliberate intention. You'll learn to powerfully control what's truly within your sphere of influence, master that often rebellious inner voice, and cultivate a presence that speaks volumes, even in complete silence. If you sometimes feel like you're drowning in a flood of distractions and external pressures, know this: you are absolutely not alone. But today could be the pivotal moment you begin finding your way back. Stick with me, because when you truly embrace thinking less, talking less, and focusing more, you'll realize the world no longer owns you. You own it. 1. Your thoughts aren't facts. The mind is a train station sometimes. A single thought, a quiet, insidious line that creeps into your head like a shadow, can derail your entire day. I'm not good enough. Things will never change. What if it all goes wrong? Before you know it, you're living as if those words are carved in stone, unchangeable truths. But here's the powerful secret: they are not. The Stoics recognized this fundamental principle long ago. Epictetus wisely observed, "It's not the events that mess us up. It's the judgments we make about them." Yet how often do we, as seasoned men with years of experience, mistake a fleeting thought for an absolute truth? How often do we allow an unchallenged idea to hold us hostage, dictating our mood and actions? Picture your mind as a bustling train station. Every single thought is a train constantly rolling by. Some trains might carry the heavy cargo of regret, others the burning embers of anger, and still others the cold grip of fear. But here's your power. You don't have to hop on any of them. You can simply observe them as they pass. You can take a deep breath. You can choose to stay grounded on the platform. This simple yet profound act of observing without immediately reacting, a core Stoic practice, is one of the most effective tools against inner chaos. When you get tangled up in your thoughts, you inevitably lose control. But when you learn to step back and simply watch them, they lose their suffocating grip. They begin to fade, losing their intensity like a wisp of smoke. I recall a late-night conversation with a colleague a team leader universally respected for his unshakable calm. He confessed that for years, every morning, he'd wake with a knot in his stomach, not because of any external crisis, but because of the persistent whispers his mind generated the second his eyes opened. You're not doing enough. You're screwing up. For years he lived as if those thoughts were undeniable verdicts. Then he stumbled upon the writings of Marcus Aurelius, and something profound clicked. He realized he could create a crucial psychological distance. He could reframe it. I'm having the thought that I'm screwing up. That seemingly small shift in language, that subtle rephrasing, changed everything for him. It wasn't him failing anymore. It was merely a passing idea, like a cloud drifting across the sky, like smoke dissipating in the wind. And if you don't feed the fire, the smoke inevitably clears. This isn't about denying your thoughts or forcing yourself into a state of artificial positivity. That's merely another form of dodging reality. Instead, it's about recognizing that your mind, like a busy factory, churns out thoughts automatically. And critically, not all of them are useful or even accurate. Many are simply leftovers from old experiences, inherited fears, or unfiltered knee-jerk reactions. The key insight is this: you are not those thoughts. You are the vast, open space where they appear. You are the conscious observer who decides which thoughts to nurture and which to gently let drift away. The Stoic practice begins with that fundamental awareness. You don't need to retreat to a secluded cabin in the woods or embark on a month-long meditation retreat. Just a few minutes each day to pause and notice. When a thought feels sharp or painful, don't immediately react. Don't push it away with force. Don't cling to it as if it's your identity. Just watch it. Ask yourself genuinely, is this really true? Do I have concrete proof? Does entertaining this thought make me stronger or weaker, more capable or less? If it's not serving your higher purpose, let it go. Not with anger or frustration, but with the calm detachment of dropping a rock you no longer need to carry. Bit by bit, day by day, you begin to carve out inner space. And in that quiet, expansive space, something no fleeting thought can fake emerges: clarity, quiet confidence, and steady, unshakable strength. It's not magic, it's disciplined practice. It's the conscious act of returning again and again to the present moment, to the platform, to your authentic self. The Stoics never aimed to stop thinking entirely. They aimed to tame the mind. They knew an unguided mind is like a runaway horse. It will drag you exactly where you don't want to go. But a trained, disciplined mind becomes your most powerful ally. It illuminates the path and, most importantly, allows you to walk it with genuine freedom. So, the next time that insidious voice in your head whispers, you can't, you're not enough, or it's too late, just breathe. Don't board that train of self-doubt. Stay firmly rooted within yourself, because your thoughts don't define you. What you do with them, that's the real strength. Quiet, internal, and utterly unshakable. 2. The power of saying less. Commanding respect through silence. The stronger your soul, the less it needs to justify itself. Marcus Aurelius. Some silences make people squirm, filling them with discomfort. Other silences, however, command profound respect. In a world saturated with incessant chatter, where fast talking is often mistaken for intelligence and sheer loudness drowns out genuine truth. Making the conscious choice to say less is an act of quiet defiance. It's not defiance against others, but against your own ego. The ego, that insatiable part of us, always craves the last word. It wants to clap back, to be heard, to assert its dominance. But you, my friend, are not here to prove anything to anyone. You are here to master yourself. Once knew a seasoned manager in our office meetings whom everyone subtly steered clear of, not because he was unpleasant, but because he was different. He didn't speak unless he absolutely had to. He listened with intensity. He observed with keen insight. And when he finally chose to speak, every single word landed with the impact of something carved in stone. It wasn't because he raised his voice. It was because he didn't waste a single syllable. He didn't engage in petty arguments. He didn't feel the need to over-explain himself. He only spoke when he had something genuinely worth saying, something that added real value. And that, paradoxically, made him utterly unforgettable. The Stoics viewed this as a paramount virtue. A truly wise person doesn't speak out of habit or impulse. He speaks by conscious choice. He doesn't leap into verbal sparring matches because he intuitively understands that some battles are won simply by staying out of them. Marcus Aurelius, in his personal meditations, wrote that the soul grows stronger when it remains calm and composed amidst the world's incessant noise. That, for us, is the daily challenge, holding your ground, maintaining your inner composure, when everything around you seems designed to scream, provoke, and demand an immediate, reactive response. Saying less isn't about timidly biting your tongue out of fear or insecurity. It's about the deliberate, empowering choice of when to speak and when to gracefully hold back. It's the mature understanding that not every verbal jab deserves a counterpunch. Not every taunt needs a comeback, and certainly not every moment calls for an exhaustive explanation. When you react to everything, when you feel compelled to respond to every stimulus, you effectively hand your precious energy over to the world. You scatter your focus, you unravel your inner peace. But when you choose silence with conscious purpose, you sharpen your mind. You cultivate a presence. You become a man who doesn't just react. He thoughtfully acts. The Stoics weren't concerned with people-pleasing or winning popularity contests. Their focus was on living a life of virtue and integrity. And a crucial part of that virtue is the discipline of not saying more than you absolutely need to. It's about measuring your words with the precision of a master craftsman, like a fighter carefully measuring his punches. Because an extra unnecessary word can cut deeper than you ever intended, and a well-timed, intentional pause can effectively diffuse a volatile situation. Think back to the last time you spoke on impulse. Perhaps it was a sharp jab, a defensive retort, or an uninvited opinion you felt compelled to share. Was it truly worth it? Or did it leave you feeling hollow, perhaps even patching up the resulting emotional gap with regret? Silence, on the other hand, never prompts regret. It buys you invaluable time. It gives you clearer perspective. It hands you back the reins of your own control. Saying less also forces you into a state of heightened presence. It compels you to listen, truly listen, not just to formulate your next argument, not just to win, but to genuinely understand. And something remarkable often happens. The other person instinctively lowers their guard. They sense that you're not fighting them, you're genuinely paying attention. And you change too. By intentionally not talking, you begin to think with greater clarity. Your words cease to be mere reactions and start to become deliberate, conscious choices. Epictetus taught that we should first control our impulses, and only then our words. He believed there's no greater freedom than not needing to justify yourself to anyone. That profound freedom isn't loud or boastful. It's palpable in your steady breath, in your calm, unwavering gaze, in the quiet confidence you carry when you choose silence, even when you possess the verbal arsenal to dominate with a killer argument. Saying less isn't just a fleeting mood. It's a foundational philosophy. It's a powerful reminder that true control begins with your tongue, that genuine respect isn't demanded. It is earned silently and authentically. And in a world filled with unrelenting noise, a man who masters the art of silence becomes a presence that needs no grand introduction. So the next time you feel that familiar urge to immediately fire back or jump into the fray, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself if what you're about to say is truly necessary. Is it useful? Is it true to the man you aspire to be? If the answer is no, then hold your words. Because sometimes the greatest, most profound strength lies in saying absolutely nothing. And in that silent space you grow stronger, clearer, and more authentically. U.3. Control what you can control. Mastering your inner compass. There are moments, aren't there, when the world feels like it's specifically gunning for you? Everything seems to break down simultaneously. Meticulously laid plans fall apart. Trusted people let you down. Promising opportunities vanish into thin air. The past stings with unresolved pain, and the future looms heavy with uncertainty. In that swirling chaos, one question cuts through with razor-sharp clarity. What now? Most people in such moments immediately look for someone or something to blame, externalizing their discomfort. Others simply give up, succumbing to resignation. But there's a distinct kind of man who chooses a different path. He turns inward. He understands that the only power that can never be taken from him is the sovereign power to choose how he responds. You can't choose the hand life deals you, but you possess absolute authority over how you play it. Epictetus called this the fundamental split between what's in your control and what isn't, a principle as simple as it is brutally effective. It places the weighty responsibility for your mental state squarely on your own shoulders. Not what happens, but what you allow what happens to do to you. You can't prevent people from disappointing you, but you can choose not to let that disappointment consume you and eat you alive. You can't rewrite the chapters of the past, but you can certainly prevent it from defining your present and limiting your future. And in that precise moment when you stop wrestling with what you cannot change and firmly grasp the wheel of what you can, you begin to reclaim your power. Picture a sturdy ship navigating the vast open sea. The captain, for all his skill, does not control the wind or the waves, but he absolutely controls the rudder, he controls the sails, and he controls the fundamental choice to keep sailing forward or not. A Stoic man lives precisely like that captain. He doesn't pretend the storm isn't raging. He doesn't delude himself with wishful thinking. Instead, he asks himself with clarity, where do I have real, tangible leverage here? And from that precise point of clarity, he moves, he decides, he builds. I once spoke with a man who had lost his business, a venture he'd poured 20 years of his life into. He confessed that the hardest part wasn't the financial ruin. It was the overwhelming feeling of powerlessness, watching his very sense of self crumble with every unpaid bill. For months, he was trapped in a vortex of anger, pointing fingers, drowning in the enormity of what he couldn't fix. Then, one day, he stopped. He grabbed a simple notebook and drew 2 columns. One for what he absolutely could not control, and the other for what he could, his daily routine, his mindset, his personal discipline, his unwavering willingness to simply start over. From that pivotal day, he didn't just rebuild a business. He meticulously built inner peace, because clarity empowers you and focused effort makes you untouchable. Marcus Aurelius, who literally ran an empire, understood deeply that not everything was within his command. He often wrote in his personal journal to remind himself that true happiness doesn't originate from external circumstances. It springs from the quality of one's thoughts. An emperor who commanded vast armies could not command fate. Yet his profound, enduring power lay in how he responded to fate's unpredictable turns, by not whining, by not quitting, by staying utterly steady in his core, while the entire world spun out of control around him. Controlling what you can control doesn't mean aiming for perfect outcomes or an idyllic, problem-free existence. It means taking the helm of your life, no matter the severity of the storm. It means that when everything around you is shaking, you deliberately choose what remains solid and unshakable inside you. Your calm, your unwavering purpose, your deliberate, intentional action. It means living from your deep-seated roots, not from your fleeting, reactive impulses. If you ever feel like you've lost your way, just stop. Breathe. Look hard with honest self-assessment at what you're fruitlessly trying to control, and then with quiet resolve, let go of what is simply not yours to manage. Then, and only then, pour all your focused energy into what you can move, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem at first, because when you choose with clarity where to invest your strength, every action becomes cleaner, sturdier, and authentically yours. That's what prevents a man from breaking, even when his world feels like it's falling apart. Not his luck, not his external circumstances, but his relentless, unwavering choice to return to what truly matters. Because that's precisely where real, lasting transformation begins. Not out there, not tomorrow, but right now, in what you choose to think, and how you choose to respond, and in who you choose to be when no one else gets a say. 4. Focus on what makes you grow, cultivating your inner garden. Perhaps you've been there. A conversation ends, but you keep replaying it in your head for days, dissecting every word. A seemingly small mistake from months ago still keeps you awake at night, gnawing at your peace. Someone hurt you deeply, and even though they're long gone from your life, the wounds still feel raw, almost as if it happened yesterday. This isn't because of what initially happened, but because you keep feeding it, nurturing it with your precious mental energy. Your mind, my friend, is like incredibly fertile soil. It will grow whatever seeds you plant there. If you continually sow seeds of pain, guilt, or resentment, you cannot, by any logical extension, expect to harvest peace and joy. The problem isn't simply remembering. It's staying stubbornly stuck there in that one moment, in that looping thought, like a broken record player. Sometimes, without even realizing it, you inadvertently turn your own mind into a self-made prison. And ironically, you're holding the very key to unlock it. But here's the liberating truth. You are not doomed to stay trapped, because what you think isn't a life sentence. It is, at its core, a daily choice. This isn't about ignoring the past or pretending that everything is perfectly fine. It's about consciously and repeatedly redirecting your invaluable attention towards what genuinely builds you up, what makes you stronger, more resilient. A man who constantly looks backward, fixated on what was, cannot move forward with any real momentum, no matter how fast he tries to run. It truly doesn't matter how hard you try if your primary focus remains stubbornly fixed on what you cannot change. But when you make the intentional choice to look towards where there is light, where there is possibility, something profound begins to open inside you. Not loudly, not instantly, but it opens steadily and surely. And that, my friend, is precisely where real growth begins. Marcus Aurelius, amidst the relentless pressures of wars, betrayals, and personal illness, found solace and wisdom in his quiet nights. He wrote to himself diligently, reminding his own soul to focus solely on what was essential, on what life truly demanded of him today, not the distant past, not the uncertain tomorrow, just today, because the present moment, flawed and imperfect as it may be, is the only place where you possess the power to act, to change, to influence. Your attention is the invisible, yet incredibly sturdy, bridge between who you are right now and who you have the potential to become. Every single time you catch your mind aimlessly wandering and then consciously pull it back to the present moment, you are actively flexing that invisible, yet vital muscle called self-discipline. Think about any given day of your life. You've had thousands of thoughts, some fleeting and ephemeral, others heavy and burdensome, but only a select few truly shaped your actions, and only a select few stole your vital energy. The ultimate trick isn't to stop thoughts from appearing. It's to stop feeding them, to stop giving them power. To achieve that, you need to consistently come back. Come back to your breath. Come back to your body. Come back to what actually truly matters in this very moment. A man once commented on a Stoic video I shared, saying, "Every time I start moving forward, my mind relentlessly drags me back to the same painful memory, to the same person who hurt me, and I lose hours there, like it's still happening." I understood completely. We've all been there, trapped in those mental loops. But the key isn't to frantically run from the thought. It's to face it directly, to acknowledge its presence, and then, with quiet resolve, to decide that it will not consume any more of your valuable space today. Even if it's just for an hour, intentionally redirect your energy towards something constructive, something that genuinely pushes you forward. The Stoics never advocated for bottling up emotions or suppressing difficult experiences. Instead, they spoke about transforming them, taking that emotion or memory that anchors you down and using it as a signal, an indication of what you still need to process and release. That profound transformation begins with a simple, quiet choice, what you choose to give your attention to. Every single time you make the conscious decision to focus on what genuinely adds value to your life, reading, engaging in physical training, building something meaningful, you are sending a clear message to the world and, more importantly, to yourself. I am not wasting another precious day on what I cannot change. You can't control every random thought that pops into your head, but you can absolutely decide which ones you allow to stick around, which ones you allow to take root and flourish. And that decision, made consistently day after day, becomes the very bedrock of your character, your life's direction, and your unshakable strength. A strength that doesn't need to shout, but quietly shows itself in the way you carry yourself, the way you move through the world, the choices you make, and how you quietly keep pushing forward while others remain stuck in their own internal storms. Focusing isn't some rare, inherent gift. It's a cultivable skill. And like any skill, it gets sharper, more precise, with dedicated practice. So when your mind tries to pull you back to old pain, to the past, to chaos, don't fight it directly. Don't blindly follow its lead. Instead, breathe. Acknowledge the thought, and then, calmly but firmly, come back to the present. Because where you deliberately place your attention, your life truly grows. 5. Accept what is. The freedom of releasing resistance. If you are pained by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Most men don't crumble under the sheer weight of life's burdens. They crumble from stubbornly fighting against those burdens. We want life to be different than it is. We desperately want people not to let us down. We wish the past would magically stop hurting us. We yearn for things to always go precisely as planned, but they didn't. And the more we wrestle with that unyielding reality, the more we exhaust ourselves, the more we break down inside. Because it's not the external weight that ultimately crushes you. It's how you carry it. Acceptance isn't giving up, nor is it passive resignation. It's the powerful act of stopping the futile fight against what is already done, what has already occurred. It's looking squarely at the loss, the undeniable mistake, the painful betrayal, and then with quiet dignity, deciding that these things will not define you, that you will not build your future identity on the wreckage of what went wrong. Because as long as you keep wishing things were different, wishing they were how you wanted them to be, you remain chained to a debilitating fantasy. But when you truly accept what is, you breathe. And from that newfound calm, that clear space, you can finally choose a fresh, unburdened path forward. A man once emailed me sharing his poignant story. He'd spent years, he said, relentlessly chasing his father's approval, striving to be the perfect son, the hotshot professional, the archetypal tough guy. But nothing, it seemed, was ever quite enough for his father. Then his dad passed away. The loss was brutal, but even worse, he described, was the unresolved emotional weight. The decades he'd spent trying to be seen, accepted, valued. Then he read Epictetus and something clicked into place, profoundly changing his perspective. Freedom truly begins when you stop begging for permission to be your authentic self. Living for someone else's nod of approval is living in invisible shackles. no matter how golden they may appear. That day, he consciously began talking to himself with respect, with inherent worth, not because his dad had finally given it to him, but because he decided unequivocally that he didn't need it anymore. The Stoics taught that while we cannot control how the unpredictable world sees us, we possess absolute control over how we choose to see ourselves. Everyone filters reality through their own unique collection of scars, beliefs, and fears. So if someone shuts you out if they fail to see your true value, it doesn't mean you're worthless. It simply means they couldn't perceive your worth. But you can, you must. Because if you don't acknowledge and uphold your own worth, no one else truly can or will. Acceptance is also about consciously dropping the corrosive weight of guilt, that insidious inner voice droning on about what you should have done, what you could have avoided, what you tragically lost. The past, undeniably, cannot be rewritten. It can only be understood, processed, and then, crucially, used as raw, valuable material to build a stronger future. When you accept that something is truly over, definitively finished, you gain the profound ability to start again, not from nothing, but from a wealth of hard-won experience and newfound resilience. Resilience isn't just about enduring hardship. It's about learning and growing with every fall, not with bitterness or anger, but with purpose and clear direction. Not in a frantic rush, but with steady, determined movement. Because every hit that doesn't break you ultimately reveals you. It shows you what you can truly hold, what you can confidently leave behind. And yes, a certain loneliness can accompany this journey. When you stop living for external approval, some people will naturally drift away. You no longer fit neatly into their predetermined mold. You're not as easy to handle as you once were, but that, too, is a powerful part of your burgeoning freedom. Being alone as your true, authentic self profoundly outweighs being surrounded by others while feeling utterly cut off from who you genuinely are. So, the next time something doesn't go your way, don't reflexively ask, "Why me?" Instead, shift your perspective and ask, with purposeful intention, "What can I do now with what I've genuinely got?" Don't wait for life's alignment to be perfect before you truly start living. Start now with what's presently here, with who you authentically are, with what you know and understand today. And every time you make that courageous choice, you'll feel something shift deep inside. Not superficial noise, not fleeting hype, but something far deeper, a root, an intrinsic strength that doesn't come from external validation, but from accepting, finally, that you don't need to be anyone else. You just need to be fully, uncompromisingly you, even when it hurts, even when it feels incredibly hard. Because in that profound acceptance, your real, enduring transformation truly begins. 6. Embrace silence for clarity, the shelter of stillness. There's a pervasive noise in our modern lives that you often can't consciously hear, yet it relentlessly wears you down. It's not the din from the street or the incessant pings from your phone or even the chatter of other people. It's the noise from within, from a mind constantly overloaded, chasing every new idea, trying to fix every problem, solve every puzzle, respond to every demand. We are perpetually surrounded by stimulation, endless opinions, constant comparisons, relentless demands from the moment we wake up until the moment we collapse into bed. There's a constant, unspoken push to do more, know more, be more. And in that relentless barrage, what you ultimately lose isn't just time. It's your sense of inner direction. Without intentional silence, everything blurs into a chaotic indistinction, and when everything feels the same, nothing truly matters. But silence, contrary to popular belief, isn't emptiness. It's a vital shelter, a sacred space, perhaps the only place where you can genuinely hear what you actually think, what you actually feel, what you actually want at your core. Perhaps you've been walking a path you didn't truly choose, chasing goals that aren't authentically yours, running after winds that don't genuinely fill your own sails, all because you never paused long enough to genuinely ask yourself if those things were truly yours in the first place. Silence forces you to confront these questions not with aggressive force, but with a gentle, undeniable clarity. Because when the outside world finally quiets down, what's left is the authentic, unvarnished you. A man who watched my videos every day once told me he used to meticulously pack his schedule tight, absolutely unable to tolerate any downtime, not even 10 minutes of doing nothing. He confessed that if he wasn't constantly busy, he felt utterly worthless. But one day, in the midst of a debilitating panic attack, he forced himself to just sit. No music, no phone, no one else, just 5 minutes. And in those agonizing 5 minutes, he cried. Not from sadness, he clarified, but from the raw, undeniable truth that surfaced. He realized how much he'd been running, how much external noise he'd used to drown out the profound inner truths he desperately needed to face. Now, every single morning for him begins with intentional silence. Not because it's easy, he emphasized, but because it's absolutely necessary. Because that's where he found answers, insights no book or external advice could ever provide. Stoics never shied away from silence. In fact, they actively leaned into it, understanding its transformative power. Marcus Aurelius meticulously wrote his personal meditations at night, alone, not for public display, but solely to hear himself, to sort and clarify his own mind before making critical choices that shaped an entire empire. He understood that a noisy, cluttered mind isn't a free mind. It's trapped in the endless, distracting clutter of what doesn't truly matter. Epictetus taught that the wise don't speak out of mere habit or impulse, but out of genuine need and purposeful intention. And critically, what's often left unsaid speaks far more powerfully than any eloquent speech. Silence empowers you to truly see, to see what's genuinely worth your precious time and what's simply a transient distraction, to see who you are without the world's demanding eyes on you, to clearly see your ingrained habits, your underlying fears, your deepest, most authentic wants. But it takes courage, true guts, because silence also confronts you. It reveals uncomfortable truths. It reminds you of what you've been skillfully dodging, pushing away for too long. But that, my friend, is precisely where real, lasting change happens. Not in comfort, but in that uneasy, powerful space where you finally stop running. If you find yourself feeling lost, don't chase more noise, chase more silence. Turn off the external clutter. Shut your mouth for a second. not because you have nothing to say, but because you desperately need to hear yourself first. You need to reconnect with what genuinely matters to you. And that's not found out there. It's not in the next elusive goal or the next expert's answer. It's in that quiet, sacred point where everything else stops, and you finally, truly meet yourself. The world will never hush for you. There will always be more news, more demands, more voices clamoring for your attention. But you possess the profound agency to choose not to tune into all of them. You can deliberately create a pause, a gap, a sacred space where you become authentically you again, not what's expected of you, not what's copied from others, but what you inherently are. Because only a man who can truly be quiet can genuinely listen. And only someone who listens deeply to what truly matters can live a life filled with purpose, clarity, and inner peace. Silence isn't weakness. It's a profound mark of inner control, of crystal clear mental clarity, of a very real, quiet power. 7. Talk less. Think more. The art of intentional communication. Most of us as men don't get into trouble for what we don't say. We get into trouble, often significant trouble, for what we blurt out without thinking. A word spit out in a moment of unchecked anger. An opinion carelessly tossed into a conversation without genuine consideration. A response fired off on raw impulse. And that, my friends, is precisely where the damage truly begins, not always externally, but deeply, subtly, inside ourselves. Because every single time you speak without conscious awareness, you drift a little further away from your authentic self, from your inner integrity. In a world where everyone is desperately scrambling to be heard, to stake their claim, the man who consistently knows when to stay quiet, when to pause and reflect, stands out with undeniable presence. Think of your mind as a finely honed blade. Every word you speak is a swing. If you don't train that blade, if you don't sharpen it with thoughtful consideration, it will often cut you deeper than anyone else. But if you meticulously learn when to swing with precision, when to sheath it in reflective silence, when to sharpen it in quiet contemplation, you become incredibly hard to rattle, resilient and composed. Talking less doesn't equate to being worth less or having less to contribute. On the contrary, it means you possess more direction, more profound control, and more crystal clear clarity. Because not every single thought that enters your mind needs to be voiced. Not every fleeting feeling needs to be immediately aired publicly. Not every comment or provocation deserves your instant, reactive response. A man once reached out to me after a devastating family blow-up. He confessed he'd lost it over something seemingly small, but the underlying anger, he realized, had been building for weeks. From words he didn't say when he should have, from emotions he stubbornly ignored, from silent judgments he threw. Like hidden daggers. When the explosive argument was finally over, he felt utterly empty, because deep down, he knew those words weren't his authentic truth. They were merely echoes of the inner mess he hadn't caught and addressed in time. So, he implemented a simple yet transformative rule. Pause before answering, even if it was just for 2 seconds, even if it felt like nothing in the heat of the moment. Those mere seconds, he said, fundamentally changed how he lives his life, because they gave him crucial room to choose, to think, to respond with deliberate calm rather than impulsive anger. The Stoics leaned heavily into the profound power of the pause. Epictetus famously said, "We are not thrown off by events, but by how we interpret them." And that crucial interpretation usually kicks in before you open your mouth. So the man who masters that tiny, almost imperceptible gap between a trigger and his response doesn't just win arguments. He meticulously shapes his character, his life's path, and his emotional energy. In a heated moment, silence can be your sharpest defense, not because you're out of verbal ammo, but because you know with deep conviction that not every fight is worth expending your precious fire dot in a significant conversation. A deliberate pause can imbue your words with far more weight and authority than any increase in volume. Because what's said without rush, without underlying anxiety, without the desperate need to win, lands differently. Speaking with genuine intention is an art form, and like any art, it requires consistent practice, heightened awareness, and the sheer guts to not get sucked into the prevailing noise and reactive culture. Today, we are bombarded with endless prompts to react, to post, to weigh in, to constantly prove something about ourselves. But consciously showing restraint isn't bottling up your true self. It's making a powerful choice about where your words truly originate. Do they come from ego or from your calm, centered core? From past hurt or from nascent wisdom? From a desperate need to be heard or from the liberating freedom of not needing anyone's external thumbs up? That, precisely, is what distinguishes a merely reactive man from a truly grounded one. You won't always control what you initially feel, but you can absolutely control how you express it. You can learn to observe your thoughts without letting them automatically speak for you. You can train yourself to pause, to breathe deeply before you utter a single word, to patiently wait for the right, opportune moment. Because the man who masters his words doesn't just communicate better. He respects himself more deeply. And a man who genuinely respects himself inevitably commands the respect of others. So the next time you feel that familiar itch to immediately fire back or jump in, stop. Not because you're weak, but because you are strong. Not because you're scared, but because you are focused and intentional. Because talking less isn't about holding back your essence. It's about letting go of what simply doesn't need to be said. And that, in times like these, is a quiet, powerful kind of mastery that few ever achieve. You, however, can absolutely be one of them. Real strength isn't about lifting heavier weights in the gym or yelling louder in an argument. It's meticulously forged in silence. In the crucial moments you choose to pause and think deeply before you react. In the deliberate days you decide to zero in on what you can genuinely control. Every time you speak with profound purpose or intentionally stay quiet with profound wisdom, you are building this strength. Today, we've explored 3 foundational pillars that can profoundly reshape a man's life. Think less, talk less, and focus more. And this isn't some distant, unattainable ideal. It's a daily, actionable practice, a conscious way of living that is meticulously built with every choice you make, every conscious breath you take, every fleeting thought you observe, without letting it blindly become your unquestioned truth. When you truly internalize that your thoughts do not inherently define you, that your silence is a profound source of strength, and that your intentional focus powerfully shapes your entire path. Something fundamental shifts. Not out there in the world, but deep in here, within you. You stop desperately needing to prove your worth to the world, because you inherently carry it. You remind yourself consistently because you've learned that inner peace, disciplined execution, and crystal clear clarity aren't exclusive gifts for the lucky few. They are tangible skills you can actively build, continuously sharpen, and fiercely defend. So, start today. Don't wait for the elusive perfect moment. Use what you've got right now. Breathe. Pause. Choose deliberately. And if you ever waver, if you ever feel yourself slipping back into old patterns, come back to this video. Let every word here be a gentle but firm nudge, a powerful reminder. Your mind doesn't run you unless you consciously allow it to. Your voice doesn't lose its inherent value by choosing to stay quiet. And your focused attention is the single most powerful tool you possess. If any of this resonated deeply with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Where do you feel you need more silence in your life? What are you choosing to consciously let go of starting today? Your story, your journey, might just be the spark another man needs to find himself again. If you found this video valuable, please hit the like button, subscribe to StoicCraft for more timeless wisdom for modern men, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next steps in your quiet, powerful transformation. Join our community as we continue to craft stronger, clearer, more intentional lives.